Hello and welcome to Chalk Talk, your source for Buckeye Athletics news, updates, and analysis. I'm Andrew Todd Smith.
And I'm Aaron Yering, Assistant Sports Director for Lantern TV.
There you go. We're going to dive right into the action because it's been a full week of, as I said, Buckeye Athletics going on around campus. We try to cover as many home games as possible, but men's basketball, they were away. So we will give you a little bit of a rundown even though we weren't able to attend those games. So men's basketball on the up and up. They had attained a number 20 ranking, but they lost to Purdue 60-58 on the road at West Lafayette. Of course, probably had something to do with the loss of Mark Loving, of course, the sophomore forward, out of the lineup. Thad Matta has been pretty mum on the reason for why he's been suspended, claiming that he had sort of forfeited his right to wear the scarlet and gray temporarily.
Officially, it's violated team rules, which could be pretty much anything that Thad says, more or less.
Right.
So it's going to be, depending on if it's indefinitely or not, or if it becomes suspended, it's going to be a huge hole in their lineup.
Definitely. You nailed it. He's the, we talked about that Maryland game. He was the points leader off the bench, second leading scorer behind star point guard D'Angelo Russell. So big loss for them. Looked like the Purdue game was the matchup in which they needed to figure out how to succeed without him. So Purdue got the better of them, of course, by 2 points on the road. Purdue did out-rebound the Buckeyes. We had addressed that earlier in the season as a concern. They only got 15 bench points as opposed to the 25 they had in their successful outing against Maryland. So again, Amir Williams coming into the mix, but not enough when you lose Loving. He's your best three-point shooter. The Boilermakers, they shot slightly better in the free throw shooting game, but frankly, when Ohio State is going to foul Purdue as often as they did, and it's only a 2-point margin of victory, those free throws end up becoming pretty substantial. Right. But rallying back, they were able to defeat Rutgers, another conference opponent, of course, on the road, 79-60. Pretty impressive showing, Aaron. They're now tied for second. Now, get this, 4-way tie for second in the Big Ten standings.
So they broke it at Maryland.
Yep.
Purdue sort of had a little separation weekend, and then now they're back right into the mix.
Yeah, they're right in the mix. Moving on to women's basketball. The women had a tough setback to Iowa on the road. Seems like these teams both kind of struggle on the road a little bit here and there. Tough conference, both in the men's and women's game, but they lost to number 16, Iowa, 73-65. And Iowa's now up to number 14 in the standings. The rankings. So no shame in losing to that team. But again, Big Ten, you got to handle business at home, which is exactly what they did against Indiana on Sunday afternoon. Of course, the team lacking redshirt sophomore, Kalpana Beach, had arthroscopic surgery. She's had a rough go of things, medical redshirt, that kind of thing. So this team is having to play without what figures to be a star player in Beach, right. But they responded and they got the 78-70 victory over Indiana. Forward Alexa Hart, she's 6'3", matched up pretty well against Jan Anderson of the Hoosiers, also 6'3", their center. She was shooting 8 of 10, pretty impressive from Hart. 18 points and 8 rebounds, but not to be outdone, Amherst Alston, quoted by Coach Kevin McGuff as having an outstanding game, 24 points, also 8 rebounds. So good to see that they can get glass action from both their guards and their forward. So Asia Doss defensively had a great game. We talked about Kate Kraft and Kelsey Mitchell kind of swarming to half court. Doss was very much involved in that effort against Indiana. So good to see Kate Kraft. I wanted to give her a shout out. 0 turnovers in this game. So D'Angelo Russell had a similar performance last week. So good to see some turnover-free play there. Guard Tyra Buss for the Hoosiers, shot very well. Alexis Gassian as well, 8 defensive rebounds. That's tough to play against when you don't necessarily have the size. We know Ohio State has guard play. Carly McBride came off the bench to have 15 points. But they face Michigan on Tuesday, Aaron. It's a team, it's a team that beat them in Ann Arbor 100-94 in overtime. So high scoring. So it's important to emphasize the defense now. But we heard a little bit from Coach Kevin McGuff after the Indiana game talking about the contributions of all his players and what they're going to have to do to have success against Michigan on Tuesday.
Yeah, they were fairly extended to try to, get to our shooters on the perimeter, which, made sense. And then so we wanted to try to find Alexa around the basket a little bit more. And I thought, she was really good on the offensive end today. Yeah, I thought Ann was really good today. And she was particularly effective in the middle of the zone. She made shots. She drove the ball. She passed out of it. And overall, I thought she had a really good day for us. If you're going to play in the Big Ten, you're going to be in a fight every night. So it's going to be hard to win every game. And your ability to kind of process what we did well, what we didn't do well, win or lose, and move on to the next one is really, really important. I think we're doing a better job at this point in the season of that. First time we played them, we were bad in transition. We were bad on the boards. We're going to have to be better in those areas, and they really made us pay. So, but overall, I think we have gotten better defensively than the first time we played them. And we're going to have to be. They're very good. They're having a really good season. So we'll have to be really good on Tuesday to have a chance to win.
So Coach McGuff there addressing some of the things they did well against Indiana. But Big Ten, tough league, and of course, rivalry game. Everything, all bets are off. So they will handle the Wolverines, try to take the revenge game. They will face them on Tuesday evening. They're 14-9, 6-6 in the conference, so no slouch, but Ohio State does have the edge on them in the standings. Speaking of the Schottenstein Center, Aaron, a little unusual to see wrestling relocate down the road, but didn't number 4 Ohio State take on number 3 Minnesota on Friday night, and I believe this guy was there to witness the action.
Absolutely, Andrew. It's the kind of meet you would expect from two teams that are ranked that high on Friday night at the Schottenstein Center. Buckeyes hosting the Gophers on senior day. John Simon was the honorary captain, former football player and alumni, and recognition was also passed on to several other wrestling alumni. But the Buckeyes, they picked up right where they left off, Nathan Tomasello and Johnny DeJulius. Both were able to get the Buckeyes out to a comfortable 7-0 lead over Minnesota. Tomasello had a major decision. He was 1 point away from having the technical fall. DeJulius, he was able to hold on to a 4-1 decision before senior Logan Stever, the top-ranked man in the 141-pound weight class.
Defending national champion.
Looking to be the 4th wrestler ever to win 4 in a row. But with a team like this, team comes first, as always. He takes to the mat. He's going to face number 4, Nick Dardanes. And this one's going to go the full time. Steber would come out on top, a narrow 10-9 victory.
10-9.
Which puts the Buckeyes out to a 10-0 lead. Gophers, they're going to come back, though. The 149 and 157-pound weight classes, they end up cutting the lead down to 10-6. And then number 5, Bo Jordan, takes the mat at the Schottenstein Center. Front and center. Their little motto this season has been win the third. Mm-hmm. Well, why win the third when you can get a pin in the second?
Goodness.
With 14 seconds left in the second period, Bo Jordan, he gets the fall. So that's going to rocket the Buckeyes out to a 16-6 lead. They're going to go on to win it 22-13. That'll be the final. And then after the matches, Logan Stever and Coach Tom Ryan both expressed their excitement and what they have to look forward going into the national duels and then the Big Ten championships and then whatever happens in the postseason.
This team, it's what, February what? 6th? February 6th. We haven't had a full team yet, so the first time we have a full team will be the Big Ten championships. This team has undergone some adversity. I'm excited about this group. I've been excited about this group for a long time. The best wrestling is ahead of us.
Minnesota's a really good team. They have the capability to win it. So it's nice to beat a team like this. And I guess the thing that I tell people, or that I kind of help people with, is just worry about your job, your responsibility. Bo can't win all the weight classes for us. Kyle can't do everything for us. So they just got to worry about their job. And tonight, you saw that. Everyone really did their job. So we needed bonus points out of some people, and we needed upsets, and we got them.
Well, up next for the Buckeyes is a road trip to Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, where the first round of the national duels will they'll face number 15 ranked Edinburgh. Before coming home March 7th and 8th for the Big Ten championships, which will be here at St. John Arena. So It'll be interesting to see how their season wraps up and then the postseason starts to get going for the Buckeyes, whether or not they can continue chasing that first ever team title.
The elusive team title.
But I'm pretty sure across from the breezeway from St. John Arena, there's this little old ice rink that saw a little bit of action over the weekend also, Andrew.
You might be onto something there, Aaron. Yes, the women's ice hockey team hosted Minnesota State this past weekend, Friday and Saturday, with the odd puck drop time of 6:07 that we've become...
Precisely,
that we've become so accustomed to. They got back on the winning track, Aaron. They had struggled with a tie and a loss in their previous series, in the previous weekend, but they swept the series against Minnesota State. So it was good to see the ladies show some resilience there. Lauren Spring, freshman forward, had 2 points, a goal and an assist in the first game of that series, obviously on Friday evening. Kendall Curtis also had a strong showing on Friday evening, and Alexa Ranahan, the sophomore defenseman, 2 assists contributed during the 3-2 effort against Minnesota State. It was quite an interesting matchup to witness because the Buckeyes got out to a 2-0 lead. Looks like they're going to coast to another WCHA victory. As I said, get back on the winning track. Minnesota State, though, not to be denied, tied it up in the third period. And what was interesting is during the same penalty, during the one penalty, was Anna Keys for Minnesota State for slashing. In that 2-minute period where she's in the box, Minnesota State ties it up on a shorthanded goal, of course. And then what does Ohio State do? Immediately rebounds and gets the power play goal. So great showing from the ladies to show some mental focus down the stretch there to get that 3-2 gritty victory. Now, we heard from Coach Nate Handrahan after that Friday evening matchup. He had some interesting things to say about his fourth line of players. And we'll hear from him now.
For a group that doesn't get a ton of minutes, our fourth line, I thought, went out and played really, really hard with Matheny and Newell and Rothkerry. You know, they don't see the minutes that other players do, but tonight they went out and created momentum. They drew a penalty, which, you know, those are critical things that go on throughout the play. You know, somebody like Nui that, you know, isn't playing her traditional position, she played pretty darn good tonight. You know, you can't give them opportunities to make a play, and we gave up. We had ill-advised. We didn't get coverage on a rush. Or Dia jumped in the rush on the first goal. She got a chance and put one home, and then on the power play, we relaxed and didn't go and shut her down. But it was great to see us bounce back, and you know, you got to get a power play goal in each game, and I think that it was timely for sure.
Coach Handrahan now addressing his fourth line, right, Aaron? Fourth line of players. We know how hockey works, coming in and off the ice in shifts. Maggie Rothkerry, Brianne Newald, and Katie Matheny. Coach called them out. You'd like to think that they were flies on the wall for that press conference on Friday because, boy, did they have a showing on Saturday evening against the very same Minnesota State team. I'm getting so excited. A 6-0 victory for the Buckeyes. And those 3 women contributed 4 of the 6 goals and 5 assists. So they must have been listening to Coach speak their praises because, boy, did they step up there on Saturday evening. As I said, 6-0 scoreline speaks for itself. Now they're showing some depth at the goalkeeper position. Goalies Stacy Danzak, 12 saves on Friday. And then you have Cassidy Sauvé, a name we've talked about in the past. The freshman come in and have 14, and obviously a shutout on Saturday evening. So the women are poised to make a late run, I guess you could say, because they're 5th in the WCHA standings right now. They have crucial series against Wisconsin at home this coming Valentine's Day weekend, and then they go to Minnesota Duluth. And those are teams that are both above them in the standings. So, Coach Handrahan has stressed he's emphasized the importance of winning on home ice, and they did it this weekend. So we'll have to see how they fare against Wisconsin. Only 2nd best in the conference, but they're 3rd nationally. So a tough opponent.
Wow.
Yeah, tough slate for them.
He's not lying.
Yeah, exactly. So WCHA hockey, tough as nails. So good to see the women get back on the winning track. But we keep talking about St. John Arena. It keeps coming up. We see wrestling Big Ten championship banners, but those aren't the only banners that hang in St. John Arena. Aaron, let's talk a little men's volleyball.
That's right. The nets were up this time at St. John Arena. I mean, the gymnastic mats put away, wrestling mats put away. Put up the nets. Let's go. By the way, fast fact, didn't realize this, 2 feet higher than women's volleyball.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Learn something every day.
So over the weekend,
Yep.
they had amassed their 600th win for the coach.
Yep.
They're at 999 wins. So what we're saying is this Wednesday when they play Penn State, 1,000 team wins on the line. They faced Quincy on Friday, which is where you were.
I was.
And then Lindenwood, the Lions.
Indeed.
Which is another conference matchup for
Yep.
them.
Yep,
the
Neva
next
play.
day.
Neva play, getting back on track with conference matchups here, as you said, at home at St. John Arena. They handled both teams pretty handily, but what was interesting is to hear Coach Hansen's feedback, and we got a little bit of a player storyline here for you. So after the matchup against Quincy, 3-0 sweep, impressive showing. But Miles Johnson, the sophomore outside hitter, struggled a little bit on Friday evening. And in that second game, now Matt Pullman saw action in all 3 games, but he specifically came in to replace a struggling Johnson. And so while Coach Hansen addressed the fact that, okay, Quincy, good passing team, didn't execute against us. Lindenwood, I expect them to do a little bit better. Let's hear it out of his mouth.
Right.
In between, as we said, in between the Quincy matchup and the Lindenwood matchup, and hear straight from the coach's mouth how he phrased it in between these conference games.
We go through a playoff tournament scenario at the end within our conference to determine who represents our league at the NCAA championships. And so clearly the better you do within the conference, we seed the teams into a tournament. So you're playing for first, second, or third, and you're playing for a higher seed. And so every conference match has a bearing on that. And, even though we know that probably Quincy and Lindenwood are probably in the bottom half of our conference, these are still extremely important matches. The one that I was really pleasantly surprised and pleased with was Matt Pullman coming in for Miles Johnson, who, Miles struggled for some reason, and those things happen sometimes. You just have an off night, you can't find your rhythm. But Matt came in the middle of that second game and played really, really good volleyball for us. And it's nice to know that we've got a couple of moves in case one of our starters is struggling a little bit, because that is going to show up again down the road somewhere.
So Miles Johnson, we touched on it earlier, he had a little bit of court redemption between Friday and Saturday. He was subbed out against Quincy, but then turns right back around against Lindenwood. He scores 10 kills.
Yeah.
And they sweep the Lions 25-20 and then 25-22 in the first 2 sets.
Yep.
Where they saw like 4 score changes and whatnot. Come back from intermission and then it's 25-15. It's like the switch is flipped and the killer instinct comes on and they just put them away.
You're exactly right. The score of the third game against Quincy, also 25-15. So they love the prospect of getting that sweep, and they turn it on. As you said, 10 kills for Johnson. Let's not forget about his 12 service aces. The guy really responded when he had a tough evening on Friday. Going into Wednesday's matchup against Penn State, of course, I'll leave the rankings situation to you, but we don't know who we're going to see at libero because Aaron Samarin and Gabriel Demikis splitting time based on the little bit of a break they had. Leading up to the Quincy match, so it'll be interesting to see the lineup on Wednesday evening.
Yes, so Wednesday, St. John Arena, the number 12 ranked Buckeyes, coming in against the Nittany Lions, a team that historically on both sides, men's and women's, is pretty stout when it comes to the sport of volleyball.
Definitely.
They're ranked just outside of the top 15. It'll be interesting to see what happens inside the arena for potentially the 1,000th win for Ohio State.
For the program. Coach Hansen, of course, we congratulated him on his 600th victory, but we'll see if we can witness the syncing up of those 2 milestones within several days of each other. But that's going to do it for us this week, Aaron. Of course, join us on Twitter at Chalk Talk OSU. Got lots of little things that we add after matches are concluded, little stats that we may gloss over in the broadcast that are of interest. Hashtag CTOSU is how we're always trying to break into the Twitter universe there. But as I said, that is going to wrap our Buckeye Athletics coverage. For Aaron Yarian, I'm Andrew Todd Smith, and we'll see you next time.